Welcome to In the Rough. Now, before we get started, y'all already know I'm coming with them criticisms. It is officially July. That means we have reached the halfway point of 2019, which means in about 6 more months, we have the presidential election going on. So, let's talk politics. 2 weeks ago, we just had our first round of Democratic debates. So who shined? Who didn't? Who needs to go on home? And who logically has a chance of taking down Donald Trump? Additionally to that, we're going to be discussing some issues that are important to black people. Can black people be racist? Or are we just prejudiced? Additionally, my black fellas out there, do we have privilege? Do we really get away with certain stuff that a lot of people in the black community don't? We're going to discuss all those things on In the Rough today. And we're also going to make sure we give a special tribute to the king of pop, Michael Jackson. In case you ain't know, it's been 10 years since his death, and I think he deserves it. So, like I always say, if you don't like what's going to be said on this podcast, might as well turn your computer screen off. Welcome to In the Rough. We back again. Next topic is going to be a very interesting topic. Dang.
Sorry, our media personnel made a gesture and we all laughed at it.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. We gonna have to, y'all gonna have to meet them sometime. But back to what we were saying. Next topic, these next two topics are kind of gonna go, I would say, hand in hand. As y'all can see back here, you got a black man and you got a white man. So obviously, finna talk about racism, but particularly, can black folks be racist? Who wants to start it off?
I'll start it off.
All right, there you go.
Can black people be racist? Yeah, I mean, we can. Anybody has the capability of being racist regardless of what color you are. That's just, in theory, yeah, you can be. Like, we could, like, any one of us can say, I'm not saying that any one of us would, but any one of us could say something about, let's say something discriminatory about Latino culture or heritage. Mm-hmm. If we were to plaster that on social media, or someone were to catch us on video saying something of that sort, then people want to react negatively to that, especially the Latino population, and say, "Oh man, this guy's racist," or that girl's racist. Even if we are black and a minority just like them, they would still reference us as racist because of what we did or said. So that's my short, sweet, simple answer to that one.
I kind of have a hard time answering this particular question because I think I blame you for this, by the way. I just want you to know. I blame you for this.
Hey, listen. These my guys. So at times I just like to challenge how they feel about stuff, and if they have to think on it, they challenge me. So I'm just saying.
Well, this time I got challenged. Anyway, but in regards to whether or not that we can be racist, it's as if we can be prejudiced and separate ourselves from other races. Mm-hmm. Or in a way view ourselves almost as elitists. Mm-hmm. Putting us, viewing ourselves as above other races, or in some cases as victims. Mm-hmm. Oh well, we play the victim card, so now the attention needs to be on us because we're the race of importance. Mm-hmm. Whether for whatever reason it is, but I feel oftentimes we, if anything, we fall into that. But in regards to racism, you have to put a structure in place to completely encompass that. It's like as if
you did your research, did you, boy? It's okay. Good job.
I'm not giving you a fist bump.
No fist bump, man.
Fine, you get one. You get one. Anyway, way you can look at it, or at least well, because like if you have like say you have a business, right, and say the owner of that business is a they're black individual. They don't answer to anybody. They run their shop. The moment they start acting in a way that degrades another race of people, not just through their actions and their words, but through the policies of the business, at that point it fully becomes racism, as to where before you had the business overhead, it's just, oh, well, I feel this way about them, so that becomes a prejudice for you. So that's kind of how I've always viewed it. Or that's not how I've always viewed it. That's how I view it lately. For a while, it's like, we always say we've got that racist grandpa, right? Come home, white girlfriend, get that white girl out my house. But now the kids love, get them babies out my house. Like, okay, the kids miss you, dad. But we got situations like that, and that's kind of where I always like was like, okay, they kind of being like race because they're separating the division of races at that point. But that's not complete racism. That's just divided races. If that makes sense.
I mean, yeah. I'm sure.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna come back to that. Okay. What you said, you mentioned that's like dividing the races. I'm gonna come back to that one.
So, I guess I'll be the devil's advocate in this situation. I do not think black people can be racist. Okay. That's just me. Hey, this finna be fun. Like, we really finna have like our difference of opinion on the table. Oh no, this finna be static.
I'll be breathing heavy today.
Hey man,
I felt the same when I had this debate on.
Man did not like me after this debate.
That car.
I was really like, so what they gonna do?
That trip back from Nashville was just quiet.
No, but it's basically what Omari said. I personally don't see how black people can be racist. I can see how black people can be prejudiced though, kind of like how you were mentioning earlier, how like if we have like something against like Latino people, I don't really see it as a racist thing. I see it as a prejudice thing. Now, when I say that, that's not to say it is okay. They're both bad. Don't do it. Like, I think we can all agree at this table, like, you shouldn't be having no type of prejudice against anyone regardless of how they look, period. But do black people have prejudice? Yeah, we do. At times we have prejudice against white folks because of what happened between us and them. It's completely natural. Now, when it comes to the whole racism piece of it, I honestly really believe that you have to have some sort of structure or power structure in order to enact said racism. And I don't see anywhere where black people have said power structure to enact said racism.
But just because you don't see it now, does that mean you cannot see or you can't foresee it in the future?
Never said that. It can definitely become a future thing.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Okay, I was about to say I never said that.
No, I know you didn't. No, what you were saying that you don't like. You have to have a certain power structure to be able to enter that realm of inflicting some kind of racist act. Okay, yeah, that's what I was going off of. You don't see it now, but does that mean it can't occur in the future?
Oh, that's definitely not the case, because I don't know, maybe 20 years in the future black people finally get like some of the things that I feel like we rightfully deserve. I'm sorry.
You can look at it this way. Look at any country where ownership of the country has changed. Because once, if the existing structure, they enact their policies across the land, right? If their views are that there's a certain class of people, you should even go with the class that that class structure can be very closely related to the idea of racism, because the effects end up being the same. If I have a caste system, that's what I'm thinking of. If you have you have a system or setup where you have the the high class and you have the low class, just leave it there. The high class is always going to discriminate against the low class, and where that resembles is we all especially in this country, we see that as racism. The high class being white Americans discriminating against the low class being black people and other minorities. But in any time throughout history where that leadership has changed, depending on who's in charge, either unify it or they'll make a new system, in which case it's flipped. So yeah, I agree, it's definitely possible.
Oh yeah, it's definitely possible.
So if it's possible, if it's possible that black people, if it's possible that you can see black people being racist in the future, then can black people be racist?
Are we speaking as of right now?
In general, like if we can see black people being racist in the future, or if it's a possibility that they can be racist, then can black people be racist?
I think.
Okay. You got it.
I think black people have, really any person has all ability to be racist, to have a racist mindset. I think the difference comes in whether or not they can enact it. And I think that's kind of where those two sides are differing. Because like one, currently we see a structure where we can't, black people can't be racist because they can't enact it. As to where were they able to, I'm pretty sure there's a handful of black people who would hop on that opportunity, given where they're given that opportunity. But to have that mindset, I think that's very possible, and that's just we kind of discussed about this a little bit too. If you look at the definitions of it all, in regards to racism, racism is defined as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's race is superior. On that alone, it's possible, but to enact it and to put it into effect, on a large scale,
like that, I think like that's the part that people miss, like in that definition, because that's a very like broad definition. Like a person who didn't read that definition kind of like thoroughly, that definition sounds a whole lot like the definition of prejudice.
Okay.
So
definition of prejudice got that bullet too.
But
I'm not blurring the lines between racism and prejudice. I don't think any of us are. As soon as you said prejudice, I was like, I wasn't really focused on that at all. I'm just focused on the racism part, because then I'm looking at a definition that says racism is the belief in the superiority of one race over another, which often results in discrimination and prejudice towards people based on their race or ethnicity. Now, when you said, when we posed the question, black people. Now, when you say black people, are we thinking about just black Americans, or can we expand upon black Americans or Africans, or anybody of black or African descent across the world?
I was definitely talking about African Americans.
You just thought about African Americans. Okay. So one thing I could definitely think of, because I took an African American history course last summer, and one thing I learned, especially during the 90s, was that there was a big stigma between black Americans and Africans in America. God, and I think I believe it's tied back to where, you remember when we took the history of Africa class, where you had slaves who were transported from Africa directly to the New World, and then over time they found their freedom and made their way back to Africa, but then they found themselves more superior compared to their compared to other Africans, because they were on the other side of the world and came back and saw all these different things occurring, but they didn't. But other Africans didn't. That was kind of the same thing that you see back during this time, mainly in the 90s, between black Americans and Africans that lived in America. Do y'all understand the difference?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure, because y'all facial expressions kind of is telling me something
No,
different.
like I understand. Like I think there's a clear difference between African Americans and like Africans. However, I would not use the term racism in that conversation, because the way I kind of look at that more as like a.
I've been through some stuff and others haven't.
Yeah.
Okay, then let me use a different example. Then this is kind of coming.
If I'm gonna be real, I kind of view that kind of like as a colorism thing, but
You see it as colorism?
yeah, because it's kind.
Or maybe okay.
Because it's kind of like, well, African Americans are, derived from Africans. So like I kind of consider that all a part of like one like family race tree. If you want me to be honest, does that make sense to y'all, or does it not?
Genealogy.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah. Like, like obviously, it started with the Africans, but over time, like other like
Yeah, we're
we're of African descent, but we're not Africans, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
So I don't really consider it racism because we're all in the same genealogy per se.
I see. Well, I would use the example of the Rwandan genocide, because that was definitely with racial intent between the Hutus and Tutsi. They're two different ethnic groups of Rwanda. They have been having these battle over political battles. Well, these battles over political control for really years even before the Rwandan genocide.
Well, aren't they both of African descent though?
They're both African ethnicities.
But that's you gotta remember there's different countries and tribes within each country.
I understand that, bro. But like, I guess I'm not contributing the word racism to it because like, it's like in my opinion, like they're like different tribes, but it's like y'all still part of the same race group. Like that's how I'm seeing it.
Let me put it this way: they're part of the same nationality. They're all Rwandans. They're people of Rwanda, but they're two different ethnic groups. The Hutu and Tutsi, they're two different.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna describe. Is that with those different nationalities, you can't really put them on the same page. Now I'm understanding what you're asking, because that's like saying that. I'll take it over to America for a second, but that's like saying that the Choctaw and the Cherokee Native Americans weren't two different ethnic groups. They did their own thing, own set of people. Just they're both here.
Mm-hmm.
That explain that. Is that a fair example?
It kind of threw me off a little bit. Cause the reason why I brought up the whole.
Well, let me ask this: is race and ethnicity the same thing, or are they different?
They're.
Because I pulled up ethnicity and it said the fact or state of belonging to a social group that has a common national or cultural tradition. So, with that in mind, you said that the
Hutu and Tutsis.
Yeah, the Hutu and the Tutsis, there are different ethnic groups, typically because they had like their own like cultural traditions and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were two different ethnic groups, but they were part of the same country.
Yeah, well, but they were part of the same race. That's basically what I'm saying. Because like race is literally like grouping people together who share like the same like physical and social qualities.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in my head, I'm like, yeah, they are two different ethnic groups, but I don't really consider it racism per se, because when it comes down to it, they would be grouped together regardless, even though they're two separate ethnic groups.
Yeah, but I'm going off a different definition I found. Like what I was saying before, racism is the belief in the superiority of one race over another, which often results in discrimination and prejudice towards people based on their race or ethnicity.
Oh well, I just looked up the definition of race.
I was on the racism thing because that was the original question.
And I'm sitting here listening because based on what you found in regards to ethnicity is more of a cultural thing than it is a pigmentation thing.
Yeah.
as to where
That is true.
racism is purely a pigmentation.
Yeah.
Generally, I'm
I
speaking very broad in general.
I guess I'm trying to figure out. It's like, did I miss? I don't know.
No. I'm just speaking, just listening. Bridging a gap of understanding, because what you're describing, what happened with with the case in Rwanda. That I'm thinking about it. That sounds like two warring tribes.
I wouldn't use the word tribe. That you keep saying tribe. I wouldn't use.
You gotta remember, I speak very, very loosely about, but like pretty much two different groups, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Two warring groups within the same bubble,
Nation. Yeah.
the same nation. What you were saying that in terms of how you're viewing it, if you're under that same bubble, you can't classify it as racism between the two warring sides.
Yeah. Wait, say it again.
I'll put it like this. So, Avengers, right?
Yeah.
When the Avengers split up into two different groups, you have Stark side, you have Cap side. Still Avengers, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But two warring sides. Based off of various different, beliefs and mindsets.
By the way you put it like that, I would kind of describe it as more of like a civil dispute, like a civil war / dispute.
That's what it sounded like the Rwanda situation.
It was a civil dispute. It had been for years, but it was with racial intent. That's what I'm saying. The Hutus were the one during the 90s, during the 90s Rwanda genocide. It was the Hutus trying to kill off the Tutsi. Now, keep in mind, way before this, the roles were reversed, but due to political power switching, the roles came to be to where the Hutus became more superior over the Tutsi, and there were some physical differences between the Hutu and Tutsi too. Like Hutu described the Tutsis as tall trees. Over the radio, you would hear Hutus who were during the civil unrest saying, "Cut the tall trees," because Tutsis were known to be taller than Hutus.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff was going. Not only did it have like a political drive behind it, but it was very, very much like racially motivated over really years of racial motivation. The Hutus did not like the Tutsi, and vice versa. But during the time of the 90s, Hutu had a majority of power. They had the weapons, they had the land, they had the resources to pretty much kill off all of the almost all the Tutsi. That's where I was going with it in the first place when I brought up that example, because even though they were two different ethnic groups of the same nationality, they're all Rwandans, but they're two ethnic groups. They've been like that for years. One was still attacking and killing off the other through racial motivation.
I still don't see how that would be racism though.
Because it is like racism.
So let me ask this to kind of put it like that. If dark-skinned people started going around and killing off light-skinned people, would that be racism?
If dark-skinned people started going out killing off, well, it depends on what was the reason.
Like, does it like the same reason? Like, cause we all know there's like a when it comes within our own people, like of African Americans and whatnot, there's always like this stigma of someone being light skinned and someone being dark skinned.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I view the Rwanda situation. Like you have two ethnic groups who are both of African descent, like going against each other. And yeah, there are kind of like some, I don't know if I would call it racial. I don't know if I would call it prejudice. I don't know, to tell you the truth. But I guess my definition of racism is one race attacking another race, and I don't particularly see that with this situation, because it's like one ethnic group is attacking another ethnic group, and they're all part of the same like race group in a sense. That's why I was kind of like, I don't really think, like, I feel like there's a word for when there's like divisions within your own, like, you know, for African Americans, like we refer to it as like colorism, when there's like division in our own race between folks who are super light skinned and folks who are super dark skinned. And the reason for that is because, you know, the light skinned folks typically get accepted by the white people more, and the dark skinned black folks are the ones that typically get the most shit, to put it like that. So I don't really. So, and you know, and on top of that, you know, you have the light skinned folks, and you have the dark skinned folks who would kind of like fall into that trap of thinking that, oh, the dark skins are bad, the light skins are bad, and then, you know, you have conflict with that. Not saying it was like the Rwanda incident where they were literally like killing each other off and whatnot. But you know, like it's the conflict. There's still conflict, I guess I would say. And with this Rwanda situation, I understand what you're saying. I don't view it as racism, because it's kind of like Africans doing it against other Africans. Like even though they're part of like separate, you know, ethnic groups and tribes, you know, and you know, we were in that same class with whole African history and whatnot. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, would you consider the fact that African kings and whatnot, they were putting our own people like through slavery and whatnot, whatever the cases may be, like, would you kind of consider that like a racism thing? Because when white people started doing it to us, we considered it a racism thing.
But that's because it came from a completely different race. But in regards to the Hutu, what was it? The Tutsi.
Hutu and Tutsi.
If they're not from two completely differing races, then racism can't be the word used for it.
That's what I feel like.
That I went, you know, based off the definition, for something to be discriminatory or prejudiced and be regarded as racist, it has to be from one completely different race to another completely different race. In this case, it sounds like warring factions, and I know that's not necessarily probably the best word to use for it, but that's what it sounds like: is a situation of warring factions, two sides that don't really like each other for some reason, or want the power for some reason, and they go to war over it, or they fight over it. The same sentiment, kind of what you were describing behind dark skin and the term mulatto during slavery time.
During slavery times they call some of the slaves mulattoes, and you know, the rest niggers. And basically, if you were a mulatto, like, you could pass off as a white person.
Yeah, you got more privileges than those who weren't.
Yeah,
but there was a divide between the two skin color, or two people with two different colors, because it's like, okay, well, y'all always get like the luxury, y'all get treated better than we do, and there was a hate and divide because of it. You know, I think that's core principle. It's still division going on, but the kind of division, I don't know if we can call that racism based off the definition.
I'll look further into it. Personally, I still think it's racist. Now you got me. I'm so mad at you, Wolf.
You see what this conversation did to us, Wolf?
I think I still consider it an example of racism, in my opinion. I've delved into this kind of like into this specific part of African history with the Rwanda genocide for years. I still think it's considered racism, but I'll look further into it based on what I heard from you two guys today. Kind of see where the line is blurred, or if maybe it's not racist. I don't know, but I'm gonna keep looking into it. But for y'all, just so y'all know, that's still my opinion.
That's cool. I mean, we're all speaking our opinion.
That's all it is.
Yeah, like with me, it's like I had to warp my. I won't say warp, but I changed my opinion a little bit, because it's like, okay, I understand the difference now between fully enacting versus having a mindset of it. Because that's where I was coming from at first, is that if you can have a mindset of it, then you can do it. Because we had a long debate over it. It's like, okay, I mean, if it's in your heart first, then if it's there, then therefore you are. You know, even on the spiritual side, if you've sinned in your heart, then you might as well have gone and done it. And that's why it's caution to like, hey, be careful about what you think, because what you think and where your heart is at, what comes out of there, that's what
right.
that's you. But in regards to being able to do it, that's a whole other story. But in regards to that, with this situation, this one I don't know too much about. But the core is still the same amongst all of it to me, is that division. Mm-hmm. Everyone has that tendency to separate rather than unify. Whether, for what reason, that varies. Mm. But, even this picture here, we see two sides of one coin when in reality they need to be in the same picture.
Yeah.
Instead of separate.
Yeah. Now I guess I will say to kind of like, in this topic and kind of segue into our next one, which is still like, can black men have privilege, because I've kind of seen that going around, so we're going to talk about that. But I will say, like, back to what you earlier said, I don't like the fact how my people are prejudiced, because I look at the situation and I'm like, okay, this is how people treated us, and that's how we in the position that we in. So I don't want to have to run around and do the same thing. Like, and that's just me. So I'm not rocking with the fact, even though I disagree with you, I don't think my people can be racist now. I do believe it could be a future thing, because it's kind of like what I told you. I feel like the state of black America is going to like flip to a good thing, like, if you want me to be real, like, soon. And the possibility of us enacting racism when it does is there, because if you want me to be real, I feel like a lot of our people, hell, including even me, we still dealing with it every day. It's kind of like what I said earlier. We live in trauma every day, so it's gonna be a struggle. If black folks wind up getting into a position of power, it's gonna be a struggle for a lot of black folks not to do some revenge stuff. It's gonna be a struggle. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, so with prejudice, we kind of treading on the lines. We need to pull that back and not tread on those lines at all. Because once we start treading on those lines, and once we start getting like the resources and the authority and the power, and we keep treading on those lines, and eventually it could turn into us being racist towards everybody else. But think about it is, I don't want us to be like that, because we've clearly seen how that has worked for us not well. So with that in mind, I don't think black people should be racist or even prejudiced. Like, and listen, I will even say I understand. I understand where y'all coming from, because black people have been through a hell of a lot of stuff, to put it a bit, in multiple places in life, housing, education, jobs, and stuff like that. We've been messed with a lot, but I just personally don't think just because we've been messed with in that same way, that once we get the power, we should automatically turn around and start doing it to other folks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I would say we shouldn't. Like I do agree with that. I was like I said, it's like with going back to the original question, that keyword, can we? Yes, we can.
Well, let me change the question. Can black people be racist now? Because we've been going through what we've been going through for like, next year's about to be 400 years.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, no, but for the future.
If stuff changes, we can.
We can, and that's why I think it's important that it's encouraged not to seek eye for an eye.
Right.
Because that's always, I guess you can really boil this down to a human tendency, because we see this in so many cases, especially in our generation and younger, is that when something's wrong is done to someone, the immediate response is, okay, I'm going to do the same or worse.
Right.
And then I feel better about it.
Right.
You've gone out your way to steal my, for example, to steal my TV. You've gone out your way to steal my TV, so I'm going to make sure I go out my way to not only get you locked up, not only get my TV back, not only get your money, But I'm gonna talk bad about you too. Just put icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And then call that eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't do that because that just furthers that division.
All right.
Because now that puts people in a position, and I like how that ties back in, put people in a position to say, oh, well, that group of people did that.
Why can't we?
Why can't we? Or not even just why can't we? They did that, and now I hate them for it.
Yeah.
Just like how we see with the, I called it earlier playing the victim card, but that's kind of how that looks a lot of times. It's now that because our people have been so oppressed for so long,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, well, they've done all this to us, and now, therefore, I hate them. Like, I can even speak of myself in this one a little bit. It's like, there are times where I can't, there are white people that I love, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also times where, like, I can just be looking at a video or looking online or just look at a group of people and just be like, mm-mm. If only they knew some of the thoughts that go through my head. It's like, now I have to check myself. It's like, no, Amari, stop it.
Yeah.
You can't be thinking like that because that's gonna further divide.
Yeah. I will personally say for me, I mean, y'all know me. Like, I make general, and I ain't even gonna lie to post my podcast. Like, when it comes to certain situations, I will dead ass sit there and be like, man, that sounds like some white people thing to do. That sounds like a white person thing to do. I ain't even gonna cap. I say it. And no, I shouldn't, but y'all really be doing some weird stuff. I'm just saying, but sorry. Look,
Anyway.
be nice to everybody. That's what we saying. Be nice to everybody, even if they don't look like you. Be nice to them.
Not just be nice. I think we're gonna end this talk on this one, but not just be nice, but it's a four-letter word that everyone thinks is so cliche.
Oh, love them.
There it is.
So
We do that solves a whole world of problems.
Oh, yeah.
Literally.
and just a little point of order. There's really only one race, the human race. But we'll get into that topic for later. Moving on.
Wow. What's up in the rough? Thank you all for watching. It's been another great week. I'm missing some co-host here. Is that sweat on my forehead? That's crazy.
Yes, it is.
Get off the stage. Boo!
Wow. Y'all just gonna leave me here by myself and kicking me off. That's crazy.
Wait. What's up, everybody? You feel me? It's the cool ones, part of the podcast. You feel what I'm saying?
Man, y'all know I'm the realest, coolest mother on the show. I'm just kidding.
But no, if you're watching this, we just like to say thank you for your continued support of In the Rough. It's been a pleasure doing this. It's been a pleasure having all these intellectual conversations with you all, and of course my two special co-hosts with me. So you're probably wondering why we're here. We're here to talk to you. Actually, yeah, you looking right there in the camera. I'm speaking right to you. You on YouTube? I know you're on YouTube because that's the only way you can view this podcast. So you want to know what you can do while you're on YouTube?
What can I do, Wolf?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna need you to create an account so you have a YouTube account.
Create an account.
Once you create that account, I'm gonna need you to go to In the Rough Studios account page. In the Rough Studios. You'll see it. It'll look like this little logo right here in the back like that. You feel me? Once you find that, I'm gonna need y'all to hit that little button that has a bell and it says subscribe next to it. Ding. Once you press that bell, you will get all notifications, all updates of what's going on the channel. We wouldn't want y'all to miss anything. Before we head out, we just want to say, make sure you subscribe to In the Rough. And also, thank you for watching. This has been Wolfgang.
This is Omari the Smith. And as always, if you got comments, put it in the comment section below.
This is Trayvon.
In the studio, In the Rough Studios. Wow, I messed that up. It's crazy though. It's a good thing. This is just an ending. Email intheroughstudios@gmail.com. If you have a topic you would like us to talk about, send it to that email. If you have our personal information, you can easily find us all on social media. I'm sure once Omar makes this video, we'll put it right there in there for you.
It's true.
So,
they'll be there.
You'll be straight. You'll be straight. But other than that, it's been great, y'all. Y'all be blessed. Don't forget to subscribe.
Peace.
Don't go.